Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the PodUp with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. PodUp, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Thursday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Got a good show lined up for you today. We're going to be joined here in just a second by old Sam Mccorkle, one of the greatest special teams players in Florida football history, now coach at Dartmouth. And then the second portion of the show, we're going to talk about high school football here in the state of Florida. We're going to be joined by Josh Wilson, who does a tremendous job covering high school sports. Let us know what's going on. They got some crazy format for their playoffs, and he'll explain it to us. But let's get straight into it, and let's go to the Titan MR hotline. And we're joined by Sammy Mccorkle, defensive coordinator.
How you doing, buddy?
Head coach, all this big-time stuff up at Dartmouth. How you doing, my man?
Good to hear from you. I hope you're doing well.
We're doing all good, man. Well, Sam, let's go back. I bring on former players and coaches or what have you on my show. I like to dive back into the old days, you growing up. You know, what made you want to be a Gator? You know, your story, I don't know if you played multiple sports in high school. You know, back in those days, everybody played everything. But you decided to walk on to Florida. What was the reasoning for that? And did you almost decide to go play somewhere else?
Yeah, you know, just growing up in Florida and growing up in SEC country, and I've always wanted to play in the SEC. I actually grew up a huge Tennessee fan. And, you know, I went to Tennessee football camps for many years and wanted to be a Vol. When I got to high school, my teammate Anthony Riggins was a highly touted, recruited linebacker. Was getting, you know, recruited by all the SEC schools. And Coach Rich McGeorge was recruiting for Pierce. He was a former O-line coach for the Gators, and had a chance to meet him a couple times when he would come visit. He convinced me. You know, he kept talking to me about possibly coming to walk on at Florida and be a preferred walk on. And we all know Coach McGeorge. He's one of the greatest ones, and he convinced me. And so finally, I grew up actually a Gator hater. You could say that. It didn't take long for me to realize that was a place I wanted to be. So, and Florida did such a great job. Jamie Speronis was the ops guy there, and he was in charge of the walk-on program. And when I came there in the summer, it was just with open arms, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made.
Yeah, Sam, talking about being a walk-on, I think being a walk-on, it's so difficult on players. You get stuck over there running scout team and kind of a tackling dummy, if you want to call it that. Yeah. I have so much respect for people that are walk-ons. Just talk a little bit about what it was like being a walk-on. You know, some coaches treat walk-ons differently than others. Some players on your team even do the same. They don't want to respect the walk-on for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I hope I never did that, because I feel like, those walk-ons are so important to a football team, because they're the look team. They're so important every week in, week out. Just talk a little bit about what it was like.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was I actually came in the summer before my freshman year, which I thought was huge. I think being a preferred walk-on, it helped. My name was on the list. They had an idea who I was. But I think coming in that summer, I had a chance to meet a bunch of you guys and get to know you guys before the actual preseason started. But I tell you, I was very blessed and I was in the secondary, with Will White, Del Spear. I mean, those guys, they were so welcoming, and they made it, they respected me and knew my first name. I tell a story all the time, and you talk about being a scout team guy. I can never forget Red Zone. I was a fullback back when they had a fullback back in those days on the scout team, and it was a goal line situation. You had Cole Pepper and Tony McCoy, all those guys, and we ran a play, and I somehow squeaked through and scored. And I'll never forget Coach Anderson getting so hot at those guys, and the word Mayday, I get nightmares. I hear the word Mayday. It means run it again. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I got to run the same exact play. So it wasn't the same outcome. I definitely didn't score on that play. It's just the respect that the guys gave, guys like myself was just huge. It was just a huge confidence builder as well.
Yeah, you made your mark on the Gator football team, mostly on special teams. I mean, I want to say you still hold the record here at Florida for the most punt blocks. Just talk about, I guess, that's being a good team player. You sometimes have to realize what your role is going to be on the team. And, I mean, heck, you were, like I said, one of the best we've ever had here, if not the best. Just talk a little bit about, was that – obviously you would love to have played in the secondary, every down. But sometimes you just got to find your role. And you found it on special teams. Just talk a little bit about that.
I think that was the thing going into, coming to Florida. You come into one of the top, programs in the country, and you're surrounded by great players. And I think the biggest thing that I tried to focus on the whole time was find your niche. Find an opportunity to get on that field. And I was very lucky. Coach Zook, gave me an opportunity on special teams early in my career. And I felt like I needed to make the most of it. And I tell you, the reason I think I had success because I was surrounded by great players. And, we had a lot of good players who allowed me to do some things. And but I tell you, it was a great opportunity. And I figured this is my opportunity to make a difference. And hopefully I was able to do that.
When you look back at your Florida career, obviously there were some really good games during your time. I mean, you played when it was late in my career, but then you had Werfel and that whole crew that was loaded with talent. Is there one game that stands out the most in Sam McCorkle's mind?
I think it's the Alabama SEC championship. I think, I had an opportunity to, I'll never forget Darren Hambrick did a great job pinning a guy for me right before the half. And I was able to get through there and block a punt right before the half. And I think we went down and scored. And I think the momentum kind of changed in that game. And we second half took it over. But, yeah, like you say, just you guys set the mark for us. I mean, when I got there and you guys set the bar really high. And I think it was a great time in Florida history because I think everything was kind of new and it was kind of fresh. Hey, winning championships. And it was a great opportunity and a great experience during that time.
We got a Facebook Live question here for you brought to you by Meldon Law, where you matter most. Jeff wants to know, were you friends with walk-on Jeff Rose? He's my friend's son.
Yeah. There's a bunch of us. I tell you, it was a good group of us walk-on guys. And, not everybody stayed with the program, all the years. But I tell you, it was a good, close-knit group. But, there's a bunch of good ones. And there's a, history of – and that's the one thing, hats off to Coach Spurrier and that coaching staff at that time. They had a very good walk-on program. And that's something we've created here at Dartmouth as well. And I think that's something that's very important for a program.
That's one thing when I look back, my son was a preferred walk-on at Florida right now. When I look back at the Spurrier era, I felt like Coach Spurrier, he loved those walk-on type guys. A lot of them were his booster buddies' sons or what have you. But, and for starters, we loved it when we played in those games where we knew we could just jump on a team early and allow those walk-ons playing time.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen that much nowadays for whatever reason. And I don't know why that is, but back to the punt blocking, as you mentioned, you blocked so many punts. Do you think you just had a knack of how to get to the ball? Did Coach Zook design a lot of punt blocks for you to be the guy, to be the one making the block?
I think, I'll give him a lot of credit. I think a lot of the times he did a phenomenal job schematic-wise, putting me in the right situation. But like any other position, I spent, days up in his office watching video. I mean, small things like I would watch a video of a long snapper, and as soon as I saw his knuckles turn white, I knew he was getting ready to snap the ball. So just little things like that and little opportunities to allow you to be successful, I think. But like any position, you got to study film, you got to understand the game, you got to understand the situation, and you got to put yourself in the right position at all times. And, maybe I did have a little bit of a knack to it. But I think it was also the fact that I wanted to be good at it, and I wanted to be important. So I was willing to do everything it took to put myself in a good situation.
We're speaking with Sam McCorkle on the Titan Hour Hotline. Sam, so I asked all the guys what their favorite rivalry game during their career was. Most say the Florida-Georgia game just because it's at a neutral site. Most say Florida State because you grew up playing against one another. Now that you tell me you were a Tennessee Vol, did you like playing that team in that ugly orange?
Love going there. Love getting there, opening the can on them. No, it was. Obviously we never lost to them my whole time there. We had some really good success against them. So, there was no bitterness there. Obviously, wanting to grow up and play there, but, they didn't give me the opportunity, and it was fine. But Florida State was always a big rival too. I mean, having a lot of friends who I grew up with, that were living in Tallahassee, going to Florida State at that time, you had to have that street cred when you got home. That's for sure.
Did you grow up, since you were a Tennessee guy, this just came to my mind, being a Tennessee fan growing up, and obviously in high school, you weren't thinking about special teams because you were one of the better players on your team. But were you a big fan of Bill Bates, who played at Tennessee and became a special team star in the NFL?
Yeah, huge fan. Yeah, actually, when he went on and played for the Cowboys, that was kind of the guy I looked up to. And it's funny you say that because I didn't, you didn't think of special teams and all that stuff. But it's funny how it all kind of worked out, but yeah, definitely a huge fan, even when he got trucked. And I think it was Bo Jackson.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Still a fan, but yeah, there's no doubt he was one guy that I looked up to.
So Sam, after your college playing days, you became a GA here at Florida. Mm-hmm. Is it something that, most people want to go play professionally? We all know it's a small percentage that get a chance to do that. Did you always have the coaching bug in you, or is it just something that you were just going to try out to continue your education here at Florida?
Well, my uncle was a longtime coach. I mean, he coached in the SEC. He was at Vandy, Kentucky, and Auburn. So, I knew about it, but I didn't think that's what I was wanting to do. But then I remember, you graduate and all of a sudden you get that diploma and you're like, oh boy, what am I going to do? That's the real world, right? And I actually walked in. I was I was a senior. It was after the season, and I walked into Coach Bob Sanders' office, and we were having a conversation. And I kind of was asking him. I said, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. And he knew my uncle from the days coaching, and he said, "You ever thought about coaching?" And I said, "Well, kind of, but not really, deeply." And he said, "You ought to consider it. You ought to think about it. Why don't you go coach some high school for a little bit, and maybe try to come back and be a GA somewhere." So that kind of triggered my thought a little bit. And then I said, you know what, maybe that's what I want to do. So that kind of got the ball rolling.
Yeah. So you went and coached a little bit of high school. You came back. What years were you a GA at Florida again?
I was 97 through 99. Yeah.
Okay. So obviously you were here. All Coach Spurrier teams were good. So you had some talent around there. And then after being a GA, let everybody know kind of your route to where you are now.
So after my 30 years of GA at Florida, I took the defensive coordinator job at UT Martin and the Ohio Valley Conference back in Tennessee. And so I was there for 3 years. And then I actually went back down to Florida, close to where I'm from, and was the head coach at Martin County High School for 2 years. And then Buddy Tevens got the job at Dartmouth and gave me a call and asked me if I'd be interested in coming to work up in New Hampshire. And so first of all, I had to figure out where New Hampshire was on the map. And then once I figured that out, I said, okay, let me go. I'll definitely go up there for an interview. Came up and just fell in love with the place. And I was here, during the interview, I told my wife, I said, I think I'd like to take the job. I said, our coaching profession, 3 to 4 year average, right? And I'm thinking, we'll be here 3-4 years and kind of see where it leads us. And when 15 years later, I'm still here. So that's kind of where I've been.
Now, Coach Tevens was also an assistant for Coach Spurrier. Was he on the staff when you were the GA?
Yeah. He was. My last year as a GA was his first year at Florida, so I had a chance to work with him for a year.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Ivy League football. It intrigues me, and a lot of people may not know. I mean, y'all canceled your football season. We'll talk about that in a minute. But from you, obviously, you coached at UT Martin, kind of a smaller type school, but you were used to playing in the SEC, coaching SEC type guys. Was it a big transition for you when you went to Dartmouth?
It was a big surprise, to tell you the truth, because, I didn't know much about the Ivy League either. You're obviously, a bunch of smart kids, right? And I was very surprised at the talent level in this league when I got here. There's a reason why we came here, because they were, things weren't going so well at Dartmouth, and Dartmouth was kind of at the bottom of the league. And so we came here, obviously, Buddy Tevens is known as a great recruiter. And that's the first thing we did when we got here, was recruit our butts off for years and years and years. And finally, we're able to build this thing up. But the talent level, you may not have the 3 deep like an SEC school, but our top 22 at each side of the ball. Now we've gotten to a point where we've got some really good athletes. We've got 3 guys who are in the league right now. and actually one corner who just banged up his knee. So, but there's definitely talent, and there's a lot of talent in this league, and competition is really impressive.
So take me through like a regular week for a Ivy League football program. Is it the same practice schedule as the regular guys, or do these guys have to go to study hall a lot more?
Yeah, I mean, they have study hall. They're smart guys, but the classes are harder too. So, it's very similar to what we did at Florida. You start your practice, you start your meetings around 2:30, and you're on the field about 4 o'clock. We're pretty efficient. We won't practice more than 2 hours. So we'll be off that field no later than 6:15. And like you say, our guys, they'll go to dinner, then they'll go to study table, especially if they're a freshman, and then they're some may have night classes, but most classes are done by 3 o'clock.
You have a couple guys that the Gator Nation is probably familiar with. Quarterback Jake Allen, who was here for a year or so, is now quarterback at Dartmouth. And also Judd Davis's son, Connor Davis, is y'all's kicker. And big Kevin Carter's boys up there playing as well. Was it an easy sell when you had to go sit in the living room for those guys?
Well, it's never easy sale when you got to go in somebody's living room. But no, it was good. I think, we're very lucky to have those three guys. They've been phenomenal for our program. And the selling point was I'm trying to get a little orange and blue and this green up here. So, but yeah, it's been great. All three of those guys, academically, socially, they're what you're looking for. They're the best of the best. Obviously with they've got great parents who've done a phenomenal job with them. But yeah, it's definitely, it was fun getting to catch up with those guys again. But at the same time, realizing that trying to provide their sons a phenomenal opportunity, like a place like Dartmouth.
I was going to tell a funny story. When I was helping with high school football, I remember you were looking at one of our players. I can't remember who it was. And after you give your whole Dartmouth spiel, it was great. And then you asked the kid, you have any questions? And the kid goes, yeah, coach, where is Dartmouth? I'll never forget that.
You'll be amazed how many times I get that on the phone when I'm talking to a recruit, and I'm kind of like, I make sure I put that in my notes. So, but funny though, because when I told my mom that I was coming to work at Dartmouth, she one of the things she said, she goes, when I was at UT, sometimes you coach a place, you got to teach a class. She's like, well, are you going to have to teach a class? I go, yeah, I don't think the rocket science department's going to be looking for me to teach that program. But and she swears that the Dartmouth coach called me when I was a junior on the phone and was recruiting me, and then asked me what my test scores were. And she said that I wasn't on the phone much longer after that. So
at Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with Sam Mccorkle, defense coordinator and associate head coach at Dartmouth. So let's talk about Buddy Tevens invents this robot dummy tackling guy that, I guess is like a manager working the remote control. How's it work? So anyway, let people know, y'all have not tackled a teammate in how long?
I think it's been 8 years going now.
That is crazy.
Yeah. It's been awesome. It really has. And kind of just give you a background of it, about 8 years ago, Coach Tevens kind of came up with this idea about player safety. And he came in a staff meeting and said that, hey guys, we're going to stop tackling. We all kind of like, what the heck's he talking about? Being a defensive coach, I mean, that's what you're all about, right? And but he came with this idea of obviously also developing this tackling dummy. And we actually had a former player who played for us who was getting his engineering degree, and he was in grad school here at Dartmouth. And he came up, they kind of got together with a professor, and they developed this designed this tackling dummy, and they built it, and it's kind of taken off. It's on Super Bowl ads now, and we actually got about 5 or 6 of them at practice. But what we end up having, we'll have managers or injured guys. And it's just like a remote control for a car is how they drive it. There's a number of high schools in the state of Florida, your big programs like St. Thomas Aquinas, and that actually have them as well. So, but it's taken off. But yeah, the whole idea is just making the sport much safer. And a lot of people question, well, how can you guys be good if you don't tackle? We do it. It's all control. We spend a lot of time on fundamentals of tackling, a lot of tackling circuits. but we just don't take each other to the ground. And we were second in the nation the last 2 years in scoring defense, and second in the nation in 2015 when we won the Ivy League title that year as well. So we feel like what we're doing is the right way, because we think it's important that we keep our guys safe, because we're dealing with a lot of guys who one day are going to be CEOs, doctors, lawyers, and we want to make sure we take care of them physically as well.
So I'm sitting here just trying to picture a practice at Dartmouth. I feel like we had crazy student managers at Florida, I just feel like they got these dummies just going all over the practice field. How many do y'all have?
We got about 5 or 6 of them. Yeah, you can tell the rookies who are driving it, because all of a sudden the dummy's all over the place. But yeah, we use it a lot for our tackling circuits. Offensively, our quarterbacks will use it for those DNs coming off the edge, and opposed to worrying about as you remember that guy trying to prove himself and he's ripping down on the throwing arm. You don't have to worry about that with MVPs. That's what they call it, MVPs. But it's been great for our program. It's been phenomenal.
Well, why do you think, or maybe some SEC schools have used them? Why do you think some of the bigger programs haven't gone to that?
Yeah, I know Oregon has. So Oregon has bought a couple of them. I know the NFL, the Steelers, there's a number, I think the Cardinals, the Rams, they use them as well. I'm not sure. I still think, it's the whole mentality is just, the only way you're going to win is toughness. I get that, what I'm saying? But I tell you the truth, Coach Spurrier actually started it back when we played. His whole philosophy, and Coach Stevens got the idea from Coach Spurrier, is we want to get our best players to play on Saturday. It doesn't make any sense to beat up your best player on Tuesday and you don't have them for game day on Saturday. And to us, that's our philosophy. We want our best players to be ready to play. And our guys, I tell you, it's amazing when guys get here in high school, when they're seniors and they come here as a freshman, and they come from a place all they did was hit, tackle and bang and all that. They get here, it's kind of new to them. But it doesn't take long for them to realize how much better they feel physically on game 10. They felt just like they felt on game 1, doing it the way we do it. Our injuries went down. It's our tackling improved by 50%, 60%. Our injuries went down 80%. The numbers are crazy. And we started with 11 at the start of the season, and we ended with the same starting 11 at the end of the season last year.
So let me ask you this. Have y'all sold any to any Ivy League schools, or are y'all not allowed to do that?
No, we're not yet. We don't want to. Hey, we'll take their money. We got no problem with that.
Yeah. We got a Facebook Live question here brought to you by Meldon Law, Where You Matter Most. Our good friend Frank Weir, former equipment manager, he wants you to tell your best Zucker story.
Oh boy, I don't know if it's clean enough to tell that on here. So there's so many. It'd be hard to think of one just for Coach Zook. That's for sure.
So let me ask you this, because you were around Coach Zook so much as a special teams guy, and you're kind of a fiery type guy. I'm just trying to picture Sam on a Saturday afternoon against Harvard. Are you in the box or are you on the sideline?
I'm on the sideline.
Okay, so you're running around crazy like Zook, basically.
Yeah. To me, this is my way of staying. I love the game so much, and I tell my players all the time that I live through you guys. And to me, hopefully by the time into that game, I'm mentally spent and I'm sweating because you're that much involved into the game. And I think emotionally, you got to be involved. Kids feed off that. And so I can't run the same as fast as, not that I was fast before, anyways, but I don't run as fast as I used to. But I'll definitely put a sweat in.
Well, you bring up a good point, and I'm anxious to see how the teams that are playing football this year feed off the energy, because defense is all about intensity and the energy of the crowd. Okay, there ain't gonna hardly be anybody in the stands.
Yeah.
So how do you think defensive coordinators are going to get their guys pumped? Because usually you got the crowd noise, all that stuff. Don't you think it's going to be difficult for defenses to get into it?
Yeah, it'll be different. I really do. It'll be interesting to see how they do that. Obviously, it'll be a little bit more controlled insanity. But yeah, that because you're right. Football is a huge emotional sport, especially with momentums and stuff like that. And you kind of can see that with the NBA a little bit and Major League Baseball. It's just is it the same? Yeah, but not completely, because I think the fans bring a lot to it.
So Sam, the Ivy League is not playing football this year. How difficult was that for you guys as a staff, and obviously your players, to know they're not playing? And I'm not sure if y'all are scheduled to play in the spring or not. I don't know how that's going to work. but it's got to be difficult on these athletes.
Yeah, it was disappointing, and obviously, just the reaction, and you kind of knew, we knew about a week. I kind of started feeling like a week or two before the decision came out, it just wasn't looking good. So you think you're ready and prepared for it to hear it, but you're never not. You never are. It was tough for the guys, especially the seniors. Those are the ones you really feel for. Luckily, NCAA and the Ivy League granted a 5th year. But with our guys, a lot of these guys are on track to graduate, and a lot of these guys won't be going to the NFL, so they've already got their jobs lined up and opportunities, and so that to them, they got to make tough decisions, and that's the tough part, is just seeing the disappointment in their faces.
Yeah. We got a text here on the Titan MR text line. Daryl wants me to ask you, Sam, what's the hardest hit you ever put on a player?
Oh boy. I don't know. I think we were playing Southern Miss, and guy was coming down the sideline on a punt return, and I looked up. I had the right angle and everything. It was on our sideline, so it probably wasn't a great hit, but everybody on our sideline made it act like it was. So it made me feel like I was a tough guy. So that might have probably been it. I've taken hits, though, a lot more than I've given, I'll tell you that.
So let me ask you this. I always have former players on my show, and I always like to end the interview with some HBC stories. And you not only played for him, but you coached with him as a graduate assistant, and you got some that you can say on air and some that you can't. So give us a good one you got.
I'd say probably when I was a GA, and we were actually playing at Kentucky, and Hal Mumme was the head coach at Kentucky. And it was pregame, so we're out there on the field. Yeah, and the head coaches in pregame always come to the middle of the field and kind of chat a little bit and shake hands and tell each other good luck. And I happened to be standing right there by Coach Spurrier and Coach Mumme. And I remember when we got on the field, the grass was thick and it was high. You can tell it was done on purpose to try to slow us down, right? And I'll never forget hearing Coach Spurrier say, "Hey, Hal," he goes, "the grass is pretty high here in this field." And Hal goes, "Well, Coach, our lawnmower broke down." Coach Spurrier looks at Hal and goes, "Hal, you're telling me in the state of Kentucky you only got one John Deere?" I was like, "Oh my God, he just said that."
On game day.
On game day. And I think we ended up putting up 60 on him, so it obviously worked.
That's hilarious. We got one final Facebook Live question for you here. It comes from David, brought to you by Meldon Law, where you matter most. He wants to know, do you guys utilize the transfer portal?
Well, for us, it's hard to get transfers in. Our school academically is so hard and so tough that we're very limited on an amount of transfers that we get in. But Jake Allen is a transfer, so we have a minimal amount. We do check the transfer portal, especially guys who may be coming from your top academic schools. But we're very limited on how many we can take.
How many guys do you have on your roster?
We actually have 120. We're a big team.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's big. Yeah.
Now, have y'all had any guys transfer to Power 5 schools ever?
It's becoming a big thing in our league because, like I said, when our guys they're able to do a 5th year, but once you graduate from an Ivy school, you cannot play at an Ivy school. So if guys play 4 years, graduate, they have the ability to play that. If they have a 5th year, they can go somewhere else. So there's been a number of guys from our league who go on and play in SEC and ACC. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, Sam, appreciate you taking the time. I know you got to get to a staff meeting. By the way, what the hell are y'all meeting about right now?
We meet about everything, man. We just found out our students are coming back next week, so we're pretty excited. So we're trying to get ready and organized to figure out how we're going to do this thing. All
right. Well, that's Sam Mccorkle. We appreciate you taking the time, my man. Be safe up there, and we'll talk to you soon.
No doubt, Shane. Thanks for having me, brother. We'll see you, man.
Yep. That's Sam Mccorkle, one of the all-time great special teams players at the University of Florida. At Center State Bank, we put business first. We are the largest community bank in the state of Florida. Understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. We're going to take our first time out here. When we come back, we'll be joined by Josh Wilson, talking a little Florida high school football, what's going on in the state, and he can maybe explain to us how the dang playoff system is going to work. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Hey Gators, this is Coach Steve Spurrier. PodUp with Matthews in the Morning. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Area Rug Masters, your number one choice in Gainesville for all your area rug cleaning services. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, Gator Bait Media, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Gators Dockside, Okido America Martial Arts and After School, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Radware, Style Cuts, Wrap Spot, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Chris Doring Mortgage, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Darshakow Insurance, Pomodoro Cafe, MB Listings, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Cornerstone Financial Group, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Master, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Aver and Smith, Personal Injury Attorneys, Orange Theory Fitness, and Gainesville Neon and Signs. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, podupwithshane.com, and click the Advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to this Thursday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Really want to thank my man Sam Mccorkle for joining us. I love those damn tackling dummies. Fortunately, they're very expensive, so a lot of high schools could use them, no doubt about it. But now we're going to go, well, first of all, Celebration Point's where the Gators come to celebrate. With premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Tommy Hilfiger, Hotel Indigo, Nike, Medici's, Regal Cinemas, and coming soon, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators come to celebrate. Now we're going to go back to the Titan MR hotline, and we are joined by Josh Wilson, who runs FloridaHighSchoolFootball.com. You can check him out on Twitter at FLAHS Football. Does a tremendous job with high school football here in the state of Florida. Josh, welcome to the program, my man.
Pretty appreciate it, Shane. I mean, it's I know when following Luke was at Gainesville High for those few years and got an all-state team for the last those few years. That really is part of the reason watch these kids grow and watch them follow in footsteps of guys like you.
Well, it was fun. I miss those Friday nights. I'm going to try to still go watch some games here and there. There's nothing like Friday night lights with the bands playing. I love high school football. My dad was a high school coach for 35 years in Mississippi. I just grew up around it. And it's always great for people like you who cover high school football. So let everybody know we are playing high school football in the state of Florida. Some are starting earlier than others. Kind of give us a quick rundown. I want to say next Friday night is when some teams are kicking it off, right?
That is correct. So some teams will start next Friday night kicking it off. They got their first official practice in on Monday of this week. So, that's where we're sitting at right now in terms of where practices have gone so far. They've been able to get off the ground, but some schools have not been able to start practice. This because the FHA came out and said, back on the 14th of August saying, okay, the 24th is the first official start date. The school districts are not necessarily making it that way. Some are saying, okay, you can go ahead and start the 24th. And some are like, no, you're not starting the 24th. You might be starting next Monday, or you might be starting 2 Mondays from now. So that's what's happening right now in terms of all of that. And then again, the start dates for these games, like, okay, Blatchford County is going to start, here at Gainesville is going to start on September 4th. But then you're going to also have it to where you're going to have the school districts that are going to say, okay, we're not going to start until we get 2 full weeks of practice in. So you're not playing your first game until September 11th. Some are even going to start as late as the 25th of September. So in terms of their first game. So it's a wide spread across the entire state as to who's going to start when and when you're going to be able to catch a game. And of course, the other big caveat in all of this is the number of fans is going to be limited in a lot of areas, and a lot of the percentage I'm seeing so far is 25%. I'm seeing a few with 50% capacity, but a lot of it is 25% capacity. So you might be, for fans this year, you might be watching a lot of your games online this year.
And so, when you say 20, 30% or whatever, so you could roll up to a high school game on a Friday night, go to the ticket gate, and they're going to be like, sorry, we can't let you in.
That's pretty much, and what they're going to be more advocating is more for digital tickets. So you're going to see a lot of that happening. So you're going to either buy your tickets either digitally, or it's, if you're like a booster or something like that, where you buy a season ticket, they're going to want you to encourage you to buy a season ticket digitally as well. And and if you don't have that, if you don't have either one of those options where you've bought the ticket in advance, you're likely not going to get in, because they're probably not going to have the ticket booth open for the first place, because, they're trying to reduce the contact, especially with the way COVID is. And, they're just doing everything to mitigate every single possible thing to make sure that nobody catches the virus at these games.
Yeah. Josh, so you were talking about the teams up here in North Central Florida when they're starting. The teams in South Florida, down there in the Miami area, they're not starting anytime soon, right?
Right. They're right this second. They are pretty much, they're still in a hold pattern. Now, I have seen something come out of Miami-Dade County that shows that, they may be able to enter their phase one of conditioning, but that's going to be when everybody was in a phase one up here in this part of Florida. You're outside, you're not going inside to the weight room. You can't get inside because they're telling you, no, you can't get inside. So that's what's going to happen eventually in South Florida, is they'll in their phase one. South Florida is not going to be ready to play football until maybe October the earliest, if they get things going, say, next week, but that's not going to happen. So we're talking maybe potentially South Florida just saying, you know what, we're pulling out of the Florida High School Athletic Association for this year. We're going to do our own thing. We'll see you in January. That's a very possible scenario that could happen down there. So, you talk about where, high school football teams could play, January through March or something like that down there just to get the games, because there's just no way that those teams are going to be able to come in, say, October without very much conditioning and be able to play, go to the state series, which I know you want to talk about in a moment. It really is not going to happen in the terms of how they're going to, for those teams down there, especially since the fact that, you have 7 of the 8 state champions from this past year are from either Broward County or Miami-Dade County. Now, 2 of them are private schools, which those 2 private schools, Chaminade Madonna and Hialeah Champagnat, they both of them are actually going to go ahead and try to go ahead and play the fall anyways. They're just finding other private schools or schools that they can get outside the South Florida area and be able to play a full a fall schedule. So they may not, the private schools may be doing their own things, go ahead and joining in for fall, but the public schools, it's a whole different total situation going on down there, right there in South Florida.
Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from WrapSpot. August is your lucky month at WrapSpot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. We're speaking with Josh Wilson. You can check him out at FloridaHSFootball.com, on Twitter, FLAHSFootball. So, Josh, let me ask you this. Have you heard of a lot of kids wanting or have transferred so they can go ahead and play this fall? Now, the reason I'm saying is a lot of kids in South Florida, I look at it from a recruiting base. We got all your 5 stars. We know where they're going to go. They have multiple offers. But those other guys that are kind of, 2, 3 stars, may not even be rated, but really good football players have an opportunity to go play somewhere at some level. There's that concern down in South Florida that, yes, we're going to start later, maybe in January, whatever it may be, but they may not play at all. We don't know. Have any of those kids, have you heard maybe trying to move a little bit north to play on to make sure they get some game film?
There's been a couple so far that have moved north in terms of, one landed over in the St. Petersburg area. There's a few that are looking at it, but it's not been widespread in terms of the numbers yet, in terms of people considering that. And, really at this particular point, it may be difficult now, considering that the season has already started in such a way. But, again, it's also, can the parents afford to make a move? That's another thing right now, especially in terms of the way the economy is. Can this be done? And that's it really is an open-ended question that we're not going to get a lot of answers to right now, just because I think a lot of people are still waiting for the answer for what is South Florida going to do? What are these counties going to do? When you've got Miami-Dade County considering, they're still looking at the possibility of saying, we're turning our FHA membership in, we're done. When they got that sitting there on the table, possibly looking at it, that's a whole big situation right there. And I know those kids down there want to play football. Football's their lifeblood down there. So at the end of the day, where do they go? How does it happen? It remains to be seen. Again, like I said, a couple have already done it. Made the move to a different area. Where football is going to actually happen. But it really comes down to just it's what is the logistics for a particular kid that might decide, what, I'm done here, I'm going to go somewhere else. It comes down to that, and that's pretty much where we're at.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation. So you talk to numerous coaches pretty much probably on a daily basis. With all this whole pandemic, and they were supposed to start this date, then it was moved to this date. And now they started practice, a lot of them on the 24th, and boom, they're playing on the 4th of September, not a whole lot of practice time. What's been the biggest obstacle that these coaches have faced? Anytime you have to deal with a virus like this, no one's had to do it, but it's got to be extremely difficult on these high school coaches.
I think the biggest difficult thing is figuring out how to put your schedule back together, because really it's been a mess. I have seen everything go from having a particular schedule for this team A and team B over here, and then all of a sudden it's totally like the move, the start dates have been just totally imploded it, and then not knowing when a county is going to particularly start, that was another situation going on. So it really comes down to is, it's building that schedule. And then another thing is making sure you have enough supplies to obviously, be able to, meet the mandates of, okay, the guidelines, sanitation of the balls, everything, making sure you have enough of that. I think that's, really comes down to it. But one thing I have seen that's still staying consistent is a lot of the support of the communities around the state, where people are making those donations to the teams, making sure that they have the Gatorade, the bread, the peanut butter, whatever they need to be able to get the season off the ground, and make sure that the kids are still being able to do what they need to do in terms of making it as normal as possible of what's going to be an unprecedented season in 2020.
I know a lot of other states have already played some games on Friday nights. I know my old state of Mississippi, a team there beat Deion's team, who was supposed to be all this, and they hammered Deion Sanders' team supposedly. But so have you heard any issues from any of the other states that have already played games?
Well, if you look, there was a video out from Utah where they had to stop a game in order to make sure everybody in the stands was socially distanced. So, I would expect some athletic directors here to take note of that. And, if that comes to be an issue here, they'll do that. But I haven't really heard of many other issues sitting out there just right now. Until we probably see more of the states, start up, high school football games, I don't think we're going to see as, especially in your bigger states, which that's been the case. Texas, with their larger schools, have been delayed for a couple of weeks. Georgia, I know, is starting here pretty soon. They were delayed as well, like we are here. So, until we start seeing some of the bigger states, we're not going to be talking about California because California pushed it to the spring, but some of the other bigger states, until we see them join in and start playing games, I don't think we're going to have a better understanding. Okay, was the right decision made to go ahead and play high school football now, or would it have been better to just put the season on pause? I don't think we're going to know that for another few weeks until some games are being played, especially here in Florida, where COVID has been, it's been, it might not be impacting the rural communities as much as, Miami-Dade County with Miami. That's, the spread in the state has been so very, it really, you really can't put a finger on it because of just the way the virus has gone. It's like in fact, I mean, in South Florida, the numbers have been declining. So hopefully that's a good sign of things to come. And, again, almost everybody can play football this fall.
Yeah. Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. We're visiting with Josh Wilson, talking Florida high school football here. Okay, here we go. We're going to talk state series. Pretty much anybody that suits up on a Friday night can declare and say, I want to be in the playoffs. Correct?
That is correct, and they will be in the playoffs. They will be.
My question is, why would somebody not want to be in the playoffs?
Well, that's a good question. Why would not somebody not just take this opportunity to be in the playoffs? And we're seeing this, and I got one county in particular that is already pretty much declared they're not opting in, except one school in that county, and that's Osceola County. And some of the stingers of these schools down there in Osceola County, which is for anybody not familiar with the terms of geography, it's Kissimmee. So we're just south of Orlando there. Some of the seniors at some of these schools have said, you know what, we just rather guarantee ourselves a 10-game schedule. So we're going to opt out. We're going to, play our in-county rivals. We're going to take it into December and play in them and, call it a day. We're not worried about the playoffs. And the only school down there is Kissimmee Osceola, which everybody knows if Kissimmee Osceola is a perennial playoff power. So, it's not surprising that, they're going to still opt in while the rest of the counties, saying, you know what, we're opting out. So it's and a lot of those teams there in that county don't traditionally make the playoffs. The only other school that really traditionally does a lot of the times is St. Cloud, and I'm surprised by St. Cloud saying we're going to opt out. And but for a team, Shane, to be honest with you, I really think it's you take the opportunity if they're offering you the playoff spot and saying, you know what, everybody makes the playoffs. We're going to do a blind draw, and we're going to coin flip the home team, whoever's going to be the home team for the first game, and there even the chance that you may have to play a play-in game in order to get into into the playoff bracket itself. It's still an opportunity. Hey, it's one more additional game, but I really do point this out is that in all of this, even if you say you lose in the play-in game or the first round. You still have until the end of the season, which, would be the final state championship game, to add additional games, that would count as a regular season game to get to 10 games. So, I mean, the FHA has been flexible here in terms of trying to do this. And, and I have to ask myself this question, sometimes, because I wonder, what happens if this goes off with great success? Does the FHA consider changing things up going into the future? Instead, let's just follow, because this format follows almost what Indiana does. Everybody goes to the playoffs. They do playing games. Everybody's on a playoff line bracket and then just play. So, it makes you wonder, what does the FHA do if this goes off and people like it? I say you give the people what they want.
Yeah, so just so everybody understands, if you opt in, you're automatically in the playoffs, and then it doesn't matter what your record is, it's going to be a blind draw. So you could have, let's just say, 2 10-0 teams playing each other the first round of the playoffs, and the way it's drawn out of the hat, you could have an 0-10 team playing an 0-9 team, and correct?
That's pretty much what can happen. That's how simple it is. It's just they're going to take a hat. Pull out 2 names, put them on the lines of the bracket, and create the matchups, and then coin flip whoever's going to be the home team, and say, here's your schedule, go play it.
Yeah, that's bizarre to me because usually those better teams meet week 2 or week 3 in the playoffs. They could meet week 1, and you knock out a team that had a chance to win possibly the state championship. Well, Josh, anything else? Let people know how they can check out all your stuff at FloridaHighSchoolFootball.com.
FloridaHSFootball.com. That's where you go to the website. What's starting next week, there's going to be, I'm going to start putting out a little bit more content. It's been kind of slow in terms of things, you're not sure what's going to happen next. So that's why, it's kind of been slow over the summer, not knowing what was going to happen next. But now that we know, okay, we're going to have games next week, you'll start seeing some stuff there. And of course, Twitter, FLHS Football, and then you can Facebook and Instagram at Florida HS Football. So you spell it out on the Facebook and Instagram, spell Florida out all the way, then add the HS Football, and you can find everything there. And this is going to be an unprecedented season, Shane. I really, I hope that for the sake of everybody, that we get this entire season in what is the season, what the FHA has given everybody. And, and of course, I also hope college football, for what's left of it, gets their season in, because, football is the lifeblood for a lot of us. And, if we don't have football, well, what are we going to do next? That for me, it's I've been torn, I'm like, I want to take every precaution about the virus, but at the same time, it's like, I've got to have a job here. I've got to be able to have football in some way. Otherwise, I may not be here any longer. So that's the big thing, and I'm glad that, in some respects, football is back.
Yes, it is. Well, Josh, you do a tremendous job of high school sports, high school football. We appreciate you joining the program. We'll have you back on. Stay safe, my man, and I'm sure we'll see you watching some games on Friday nights. Take care, my man.
Take it easy. Appreciate it.
That's Josh Wilson joining us talking Florida high school football. We're going to take our last time out of the program. When we come back, we'll wrap this thing up. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Hey Gators, this is Coach Steve Spurrier. PodUp with Matthews in the Morning. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Area Rug Masters, your number one choice in Gainesville for all your area rug cleaning services. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, Gator Bait Media, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Gators Dockside, Okido America Martial Arts and After School, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Radware, Style Cuts, Rap Spot, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Chris Doring Mortgage, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Darshakow Insurance, Pomodoro Cafe, MB Listings, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Cornerstone Financial Group, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Master,
84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road,
Aver and Smith, Personal Injury Attorneys,
Orange Theory Fitness, and Gainesville Neon and Signs.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, podupwithshane.com, and click the Advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back. It's PodUp with Matthews in the Morning on this Thursday edition from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. This Day in Sports is brought to you by The Best Restoration. Fires, hurricanes, or leaking pipes, whatever causes havoc in your home or business, call The Best at The Best Restoration. 352-353-0768. 1982, Ricky Henderson steals his 119th base of the season, breaking Lou Brock's record. It's a lot of stolen bases. That's brought to you by The Best Restoration. Really want to thank Sam McCorkle, defense coordinator, associate head coach at Dartmouth, for joining us, talking about his career, what's going on in the Ivy League, and also Josh Wilson for joining us talking Florida high school football, which kicks off next Friday night. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. We got my buddy Matt Wyatt, former Mississippi State quarterback, who also does radio in the state of Mississippi. We'll talk about what's going on in the state of Mississippi and Mississippi State football. And we're going to have Steve McLean, longtime SID guy here at the University of Florida, talking about, multiple sports stories. His career should be good, should have a lot of good info for you. Stay safe out there, folks. We will see you tomorrow. This show is a wrap brought to you by Wrap Spot. Take care.